Okay. The missing piece to your next level results in life, if that is losing and keeping off the next 20 to 40 pounds, if that's building muscle, getting stronger, getting into a consistent gym and wellness routine, attracting your soulmate partner, a passionate, dreamy fucking relationship that's healthy, all of the things, your self-worth, your self-respect is on the line. And that is the missing piece to that, to those next level results, is boundaries. Yep, I said it, boundaries. And I think for a lot of us, we're probably like, yeah, or maybe you're someone who, you've worked really hard at building and cultivating these healthy boundaries. And if so, like, good for you, girl. Um, got my clients and inform videos in the Slack channel. We love that. I'm just gonna quiet this real quick. Um, and that's boundaries. And there's before, if you feel like you have good boundaries and you feel like, oh, I already have good boundaries, I've already worked on that, I have really strong boundaries, you're still going to get a lot of value from today's podcast, because there's so many different types of boundaries, right? You've got personal boundaries, the boundaries that you have and uphold with yourself. You might have really strong boundaries with other people, right? But what are the boundaries with yourself? Do you feel like whenever you say you're going to do something, more times than not, you do the opposite? Do you tell yourself, no, it's good, it's fine, oh, it's the weekend, or oh, it's, YOLO, or whatever it is you tell yourself, right? Again, I love me some YOLO. I'm all about that. But when it comes to obviously getting the results that I want in life, a lot of the times, if I were to just do that all the time, I would just be all over the place, right? Something that was super powerful that a mentor said to me, I got like an astrological counseling session. It was super cool. I'm super into astrology. I love astrology. Um, and I'm very educated in that realm. And so I worked with someone that I really, really trust and knows the work. And he really supported me in seeing some things, that my blind spots. And that's really what I love about just like mentorship anyway. Like when it's an aligned fit and, their work is good. It's like, oof, you think that there's some blind spots. It's like, you could probably maybe know some blind spots, but when someone else from the outside looking in, like, they can really help show the mirror to you. So, anyway, when it comes to personal boundaries, again, like, I'm very good at having strong boundaries with other people. If I don't feel like going and I made plans, like, I don't have a problem canceling, of course, unless it's something that I need to go to, like a birthday party or something like that. I'm always going to prioritize my well being, because I'm not going to force myself to, that's very draining to force myself to go somewhere, do something that I really don't feel like doing. And thankfully, I have people in my corner that are very supportive and don't take it to heart, things like that. But when it comes to myself, it's definitely been something that I've built, brick by brick. I built this. Have y'all ever seen Snowfall, Franklin, when he's like, I built this shit brick by brick? I'm like, me, bitch, brick by brick. I built this shit. You know what I mean? Like, I was such a crippling people pleaser, in the sense that I really outwardly didn't like, you might not be able to tell because of my personality, but I really, really was concerned with a fear of judgment, right? Other people judging you, being your true authentic self, and like being judged for it, hated for it. And so when it comes to personal boundaries, of course, like, you know, I'm sorry, with external boundaries, of course, it's something I built. And so I can confidently say, like, I have that. And I think everybody has that, like, fear of rejection come up, because it's, connected to our primal desires and our needs as a child, whatever the fuck, on a psychological level. But, as long as I got my people, um, I'm just learning, like, you will be for those who are meant for you, and like those who you're not meant for, like, they're not meant for you, and that's fine. Like, my goal, my desire, and yours should be too, is, I mean, I don't want to say shoulds. I don't like putting shoulds on anything, but what has helped me is really like, my job is not to be likable to everybody, right? Like, my job is to magnetize my soul family by being authentically me, and fucking repel and polarize the people who are not meant for me. And that doesn't mean that they don't have to like me, or you might not like me, whatever, but that has more to do with like you, because I'm a good person. I don't do shit to anybody. So like you deal with that, right? Or even if you just don't align, that's totally cool. Like I'm okay with that. There's people that I'm like I like them, like I like their vibe and but I don't really, I don't really consume their content as much and it's nothing to do with them. It's just because it doesn't really I don't resonate with it or whatever. Maybe I did at one point and again, there's nothing wrong with that. I still follow them, whatever. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. But when it comes to personal boundaries, I noticed that like I would waver a lot. Like I would say, okay, I'm gonna go to bed on time, and then I would be on TikTok, and then I would be like, okay, you know what we do? We'd be like, okay, 8:30, I'm gonna hop off. I mean, sorry, like 9 o'clock, I'm gonna hop off. 9:05, okay, it's 9:05. Okay, at 9:15, I'm gonna hop off. It's 9:15 now. It's 9:16. Okay, you know what? 9:20, I'm gonna hop off. And you kind of get stuck in that kind of loop. Does anybody else like relate to that? If you do, please let me know so I'm not fucking psycho. Um I mean it is meant to be addicting, but anyway, I found that like I lacked those personal boundaries to a point. So I'm like, okay, like if I want to actually start to wake up earlier and, like do the things that I say that I want to do and make the time instead of always complaining that there isn't enough time when I know that I could manage my time better, right? I could manage my energy better, you know what I mean? Like outside of work, I do have a lot of that space and I know that my screen time is not zero, is not an hour, is not 2 hours, and it ain't three and it ain't four. Let's just say that. So when it comes to personal boundaries, that's huge. So kind of scan your life. You've got personal boundaries, you've got social boundaries, right? Like knowing your social battery, not people pleasing and being like, "Oh, and really saying your truth." And however that person reacts, they react. Obviously, if they have like a good reason to, like, maybe they were really looking forward to it, that's totally fine. If you're looking forward to it, I love that you want to hang out with me, but like I'm not feeling it, and that's not fair to you because I think just like as humans, we need to learn how to fucking communicate. That's something that I've learned. Like I personally have become a great communicator. I am really, really good at communicating my feelings after I cool down because I'm an Aries moon. And for those who know what I'm talking about, like definitely. Have you guys ever seen anger from Inside Out too? Like flame bursts up and then it has to cool down and then I can communicate effectively. Or I get really cold and like hard and harsh, and that's not good either. So regulating our emotions and then we respond. But again, off track. Getting back on track, it's really about knowing your social kind of boundaries, right? Also, like alcohol. Let's say that you are trying to get more in shape and maybe you're in a calorie deficit and you need to be on point and you don't need to be perfect, but like alcohol is definitely gonna like slow down your progress, whatever. Having those social boundaries to be like, maybe we do something different that isn't always surrounded by drinking or whatever. Okay, so boundaries. You've got, environmental boundaries. This is my space, my things, whatever. Um, and physical boundaries, of course, sexual boundaries. Like there's literally like 6 different types of boundaries. But to keep it simple, I would say that when it comes to getting like those next level results, it's really like what are your personal boundaries and then your boundaries with other people, right? So a good example is like I would say like it's really interesting, right? Because it's almost like you're building up the ability to kind of speak up for yourself in a way. And I think as women, if you're a woman listening, we've been so conditioned to be like the nice girl. I call it nice girl syndrome, where it's like you don't want to upset anybody and you want to make sure that like you're liked. And even if you say you don't care what other people think, like just the thought of someone being mad at you or not liking you or being pissed at you or like whatever, it like triggers something in you, right? And sometimes like that keeps us in that people pleasing cycle. And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with like wanting to please people. However, when it's at the expense of like your own wants and needs, like it's draining, isn't it? Like you start to have this like resentment. That's why a lot of women have autoimmune issues. Like obviously I'm not a fucking doctor, but I'm huge, like energy is fucking real. Like everything is made up of energy, molecules, atoms. when you push down an emotion, you feel that block in your throat, right? Or you get really nervous or anxious, you feel like your stomach has like butterflies, or you get really tired, it's like you feel depressed, and like energy's fucking real. So when we're just like suppressing, being resentful and not like, of course that shit's going to manifest physically. Like what the fuck do you think, right? And so that is why also having like those personal boundaries of honestly advocating for yourself. We actually had a call with our one-on-one clients. We do biweekly workshops in our one-on-one women's lifestyle nutrition and training coaching program, Embody Her. And our last workshop was all around building better boundaries for better results, right? Whether that's fat loss, building muscle, getting into a consistent wellness routine. It's like all of the things, right? And it starts at boundaries. Like, where are your boundaries? Because at the end of the day, if you want better for yourself, it's going to give you more freedom than false freedom ever will. And false freedom is which was actually bringing me back to my point earlier when I talked about my astrological counselor, which sounds so funny to say, but his name's Argus. He's super cool. He's actually on TikTok. Oh my God. Yeah. Look him up. Argus Caldea. He's literally amazing with astrology. But anyway, um, he was like, it's interesting because you have a lot of Aries in your chart, and Aries is the sign. It's like the first sign. It's like the youngest of the signs, and it's all about like independence, freedom. It's the rebel. It's kind of like the it's the like blazing ahead kind of energy. And I've always been like, I would say a healthy rebel. Like I can see like 100%. Like in college, I was reckless, impulsive. I was like so great, like in school, getting all A's and B's and like being super involved, but like fucking behind the scenes, I was getting hammered, blacking out multiple times a week. It was like madness. So madness. I should do some story times, but honestly, like I don't even want to like look back. Let me know if you guys would be interested in that. I feel like they would be funny though, more entertaining than anything. I feel like I would tie in some value. Like here's what I learned. No, fuck that. I'm kidding. Um, so anyway, before I lose my train of thought, so he pretty much was saying like, a lot of the times where we kind of just want freedom. We just want freedom. And like sometimes that can show up negatively in life where there are no limits, right? There are no limits. It's like, well, I feel like doing this, so I'm going to do this. And I feel like eating that, so I'm going to do that. And I feel like doing that, so I'm going to do that. And it's like, there's no actual boundaries. And when you don't have boundaries, you don't have structure. And if you don't have boundaries, then that's not true freedom because you're not actually happy. Who can be happy feeling like shit all the time because your your sense of quote unquote freedom is like eating, doing, and whatever the fuck you want. You don't feel like going to the gym, you don't go. You feel like eating whatever, you do whatever. You feel like getting in steps, you get in steps. You don't feel like moving, you don't move. It's like on a level, there's a difference between like harmony and having that balance of flow and just letting things flow, and then completely like losing those, like not having boundaries at all, not wanting any type of limitation or restriction. And he was like showing that mirror to me, and I never thought about that because I was like, that's so fucking true. It's like when we say that we want XYZ goal, whatever goal that is, you say you want to make this amount of money, you say that you want this, you say that you want this body, this health, this relationship, whatever it is, insert the blank, whatever is showing up for you, lean into that. But then when it comes down to like, putting limitations on our comforts, right? Our instant our instant gratifiers, our instant comforts, it's like, I'd rather not. And it's like, I just feel like doing this. And then obviously, over time, we end up experiencing that contrast, right? That contrast pretty much meaning what it feels like to not be and to not have the boundaries. Like that doesn't feel good. So then you learn how to have boundaries. And that's just a part of the process, right? But I wanted to share that because I feel like a lot of you guys can relate to that maybe where it's like, Maybe your version of balance isn't actual true balance, and you tell yourself that it's balance, but it's actually kind of this roller coaster, right? And you want more of that harmony. And you get more harmony by having better boundaries and having better personal boundaries, having boundaries with others. And that's built up over time. It's like how I said like earlier, built brick by brick, bitch. Like brick by brick, build those boundaries. It might not start with your toxic ass aunt or, your, whoever is around you. It might not start there. And it might, shit. I've had clients start there. But it might just start with like when you say that you're going to go to the gym in the morning and you're going to wake up early and you end up actually going to bed on time and you turn over and you see your man, he's just, or your partner, and they're just like laying in bed all cozy. And that's that personal boundary of like, get up, bitch, let's go. And you end up cuddling anyway, oddly specific, or it's your animal, or, you know, you say that you're going to go cook your lunch and then you end up, door dashing. It's like those little things. That's personal boundaries, guys. And look, I'm not fucking perfect. I'm not going to sit here and be like the boundary queen, but I could definitely say that I've been embodying that, right? Of like, even for me, it's like honoring my commitment, practicing what I preach. Like, who am I if behind the scenes I'm not embodying what I preach to our clients, right? And to you guys? It's like I'm sharing what I'm learning as I go. And so I am embodying that, right? But that doesn't mean I'm perfect. And so a big part of being more consistent has just been like having better boundaries. And so if you're thinking, okay, well, how do I actually have better boundaries then? Like I get it. Like I know that I need better boundaries, but like how do I actually do that? Because maybe you feel like it's hard, or maybe you feel like your entire past has always been the opposite. So you kind of feel discouraged. And I don't want you guys to ever feel discouraged. I'm here to empower your asses. Okay. And so if you are feeling, okay, well, how do I, like, where do I start then? How do I have better boundaries? And my first tip is like start small. Okay. So um I just had like a totally left field thought, like squirrel thought, and it's just totally ADHD random. But my podcasts have been flowing so much more when I didn't like try to write out an agenda and notes. Like I'm literally here at my desk just letting shit flow, and I love it. Anyway, back to the episode. The first thing is just to start where your feet are. Like start where you are. And if you're thinking, okay, what does that mean? What's one area in life, personally, one area in your life that you know for a fact that you could have a better personal boundary, or a boundary with outside of yourself? Like where do you feel right off the bat, the first thing that comes to you, where could you have better boundaries just in general? Don't overthink it. First thing that comes to you. Is it managing your screen time? Is it going to bed on time? Is it saying no to people when you want to say no, not saying yes? Is it, not having sex on the first date when you want a serious relationship? I mean, I ain't judging. You could do that. You could do that. I'm just saying, as if that's a boundary that you're trying to have for yourself, like set it. And then maybe you feel like, oh, when I go on the date, like I feel like, oh, I don't want to lose them. Like, what if they don't like me? Shitty boundaries. Shitty boundaries, shitty outcomes, baby. Okay. Maybe it's shit, like managing your weed intake. Maybe it's, I don't know what it is, but start there. The first thing, the one that is really like minimum effective dose, right? Like you get better boundaries in this area, it's going to make your life so much better already. And you can stick to it and it's easy for you and you can be consistent and then you can build from there, right? So what is that thing? And I would love to hear from you guys too, honestly. So DM me. Um Second thing is really understanding and knowing your values, I think, because it's like if you don't know what you value, then you're going to have boundaries kind of in the wrong places, I feel. You know what I mean? I don't think you can actually have boundaries in the wrong places maybe, but you might be restricting yourself from something that you feel like you quote unquote should. Or I guess maybe I feel like I'm confusing myself right now, but what I'm trying to say is Knowing your values will really just help you have stronger boundaries. I think that's what I'm trying to say is like when you know what it is that you value in life. Like for me, I've done multiple quizzes on this because I'm like a quiz freak. I like look up quizzes for everything. Am I a fairy or mermaid? No, I'm kidding. Am I no, I'm kidding. When you're able to know your values, and for me, I would say, think about the moments in life that you value the most. And those are your values. Think about the character traits that you value in others. Those are the things that you tend to value, right? Then I know where I need to have the strongest boundaries. So for me, I value respect where it's earned, right? Like if you know me and like I value mutual respect. And if I feel like you are again not showing that you respect me in a certain way, right? Like maybe I remember in the past, like, some people around you that try to talk down on you or make you sound like you're dumb. And it's like, you don't fucking respect me. And a lot of times it's a reflection of like where you might lack self respect. And those people I feel like are activators for like where you need better boundaries again. But if I value that shit in my friendships and in the people around me, like I'm going to set a boundary, right? Um, you can't say those things to me or around me. I don't talk about that, right? That's just an example. Just say in general, right? Like, how do you feel like having better boundaries, whether that be personal, environmental, social, sexual, physical, whatever it is? How would that actually improve, benefit, change your life? You might be being like, right off the bat, shit, it would change my life in so many ways. You might be like, I don't know. I don't know. If you're more in the I don't know, girl, go eat your next meal. I know you're tired. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But, and that's just where to start, right? That's really great place to start. Just being like, okay, where could I have better boundaries and how would that change and benefit my life? And so that is how you grow. You grow by knowing your limits, allowing yourself to make mistakes because we actually create better boundaries by knowing what we don't want. It's like, how are you supposed to know what is important to you? How are you supposed to have actual strong boundaries without experiencing the contrast of what it feels like to not have good boundaries and to have flimsy boundaries? It's like nobody pops out the pussy just like boundaried up. Like most of us have to either build that unless we were taught it. I think I think a lot of us were taught certain types of boundaries growing up, but I think a lot of us, especially women, were conditioned to like please others and not upset others, and that's just like bullshit. Like that's that inner rebel coming out. I'm like, I want to piss you off, bitch. I don't give a fuck. You mad? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No. Um, and so it's just really like, yeah, starting there, I think is a good place, is really just knowing, okay, where in my life could I have better boundaries? And how would that change and benefit? And what's the place to start? So after this podcast episode, I want you all to choose one personal boundary with yourself, whether that's managing your screen time, maybe not having that glass of wine or two during the week and only having it on a Friday or Saturday or, you know, making whatever it is. It's just a non-negotiable. It's a non-negotiable that you're setting for yourself, and allow yourself to play trial and error. Because again, if you expect yourself to be perfect and have like this perfect streak all the time, like you're doing yourself a disservice. And you deserve to build better boundaries all around. Ooh, I want to talk about the workplace, career, jobs, having better boundaries in the workplace, better boundaries with yourself. Even when you feel like, okay, like I know that I said I was going to prioritize more time with myself and, manage my stress better and reduce burnout. But like, I could really use that extra overtime. Like, I could really use that extra money. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, work overtime if you're fine, your health is fine, like you're doing your thing. Who wouldn't want the extra money? However, if you find that you're in a pattern where you're constantly always wanting to be hyper dependable for other people, so you almost overextend or kind of self sacrifice due to that, you are extracting your worthiness from outside of you, right? You're extracting your external validation. You like that feeling of There's a difference between liking being depended on and like subconsciously extracting your validation and worthiness from other people and outside of yourself. Okay. And we're taught this from a young age. And it's not a bad thing. Like, it's good to like be an overachiever. And like, I mean, in my opinion, I think it's good to thrive and strive for the best and be of excellence. But a lot of us don't really, like, if we're not getting that external validation, you might find that you like lose that motivation or you're not as motivated. Maybe not, but I just felt like that came through of really setting boundaries in the workplace. And that's why I really, I want to share more about like money, wealth, the frequency of money, the energy of money, how to build and create financial freedom in your life, whether you want a business or not. I feel like you don't necessarily need a business to have financial freedom or manifest or attract a job that you genuinely like and you get paid for. Because I feel like a lot of us have these limiting beliefs around the job that we can get, or past history or generational trauma or wounds, and we feel limited, we feel stuck. But you're not stuck. That's just an illusion, right? That's why they call it the matrix. I mean, I'm not super into that where I'm like, unplug from the matrix. You know what I mean? It's like, we're in it, you may as well play the fucking game, right? So if you guys would like to hear an episode on that, I mean, I would like to do it anyway, but if you guys would like that, I'd love to go into that, so that way you don't feel like you need to be stuck in a job and have like shitty boundaries and feel shitty with your health, and nothing outside of you is really out, like, you know, that doesn't, it might be hard, but it doesn't make it impossible. I'm not here to victimize anybody or make it feel like that's a reason to not take care of yourself. But a big thing with boundaries is really like, where is the overachiever turning into like the self-sacrificer? Because if you, and this used to be me, like 100%, like 2 years ago, is it 2 years ago already? That's crazy. 2 years ago, when I quit my job and I went full time in my business, like the first month, I was like really consistent with my routines. And then I said, you know what? Like, I ain't got time to be, getting in my steps and tracking my food and whatnot. And that really turned, and that's okay. But that turned into like not meal prepping consistently, which meant eating out more, not getting in as much steps, which meant I was more sedentary. I would just work and work and work because I loved it and because I'm just obsessed. And I also am just like an overachiever in that sense. But the overachiever turned into the self sacrificer. I was sacrificing my health at the expense of the business and growth and just obsession, right? Um, and because of that, I really struggled mentally. It was not fun. It was not fun. And I've talked about this before, but that contrasting experience was needed to revive, like, oh, that's why I have personal boundaries with my health. Oh, that's why I have work boundaries where, yes, just because I can doesn't mean that I should, right? Just because you can pick up the extra shift doesn't mean that you have to or you should. If you want to, go for it. Fuck it. Who cares? But like, if you know that, like, ugh, it's like, why do that to yourself? Okay. If that does mean getting a better job, and like, let's manifest that shit. Let's fucking attract it. Let's build toward it. Let's do the healing. Let's rewire those limiting beliefs. Let's get rid of that shit so we can get to the root and just clear it, collapse those timelines, and get you to where you want to be. That all sounds like nice. I get it. Um, which is why I'm gonna talk about it more. Cause I honestly, giddy the fuck up, babes, because we're going in. So that is what I'm going to wrap up for today's podcast, all around the secret to your next level results. Better boundaries, baby. Better boundaries. Um, Boundaries are hot, honestly. Like, honoring your commitments, saying no when you want to say no without feeling like you need to over explain yourself, doing what you said you would, having non-negotiables so you can feel your best. Like I said in the last episode, all around discipline, being the masculine to your feminine, right? It's like, advocating for yourself is hot. You feel like a hot bitch because you respect yourself. You're like, damn, I turn myself on because I'm advocating for myself. That's hot. When you don't advocate for yourself, mm, I mean, do you get turned on by yourself when you don't advocate for yourself, when you don't speak up, when you don't No, you fucking feel shriveled up. It's like, no. How are you? That's where we start. Okay. So I love you guys. If you guys enjoyed this episode, let me know. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.